Hello there. Welcome to Just the Discs. We talk about Blu-rays here. And today we are going to talk about another lovely noir offering from our good friends at Indicator in the UK. And this set is region locked. It's region B locked. You'll need a multi-region player to play it in the States, but well worth your time. For those unfamiliar, Indicator's been doing great box sets like this for a long time. This is Universal Noir number 2. Obviously, they've done a first volume of Universal Noir, and they did a whole series of Columbia Noir that are really great sets. I think some of those are out of print at this point, but this is the brand new set, Universal Noir. So, has the nice belly band you can take off, and a very sturdy box. That's one of the things I love about the Indicator releases is the boxes are really, really nice. They don't use individual, disc sort of cases, the plastic kind. These are cardboard cases, but I find them to be just fine for this kind of box. And this one comes with a really nice book as well. And it's not a booklet. It's like a full-on book, with various essays inside and matte finish. Just very beautiful book that I love. Well, let's go through these movies. There's a lot of them here. So let's get into it. We will start with Lady on a Train. This film is from 1945. And it stars Deanna Durbin and Ralph Bellamy, Dan Duryea, Alan Jenkins, Edward Everett Horton. And it is it feels pretty Hitchcocky sort of vibes. It's directed by a guy named Charles David. And it's sort of about this woman played by Deanna Durbin who is coming into, I believe, New York, and she's watching from her train window. She happens to witness a murder as the train stops before it arrives at the station. She sees an older man with I think a cane, maybe. I can't remember if he has a cane or what the blunt object is, but we see him arguing with a guy. He's picking up the phone like maybe he's going to call the cops. And then we see this other dude who looks something like a thug. He's got a fedora on, and he grabs the cane or whatever it is and closes the shades, but we can clearly see in shadow that he strikes the guy very hard in the head, and he falls down. And so she's sure she's witnessed a murder, but she doesn't know how to deal with it. And she's also a big reader of mystery novels, and she's reading one on the train, and so, of course, when she claims to the train staff that she's seen a murder, everybody's like, oh yeah, like the one in your book, haha. And she's like, no, I really did see it. And then she goes and enlists the help of her favorite writer of mystery novels, I think played by David Bruce, to help her solve the crime on her own. But she does kind of start to attract attention from other folks involved with the murder, because it is kind of a big murder. We'll find out. Oh, and Bill Frawley's in this too, from I Love Lucy. Fred, he's a cop. He has a good little scene in this. Lash LaRue as well. Anyway, so this one is definitely interesting and one I hadn't heard of before. This disc comes with it's a 2022 restoration from a 2K scan, and it has an audio commentary with critics and writers Glenn Kenny and Farron Smith-Neme. I very much enjoy these two, and I love that Indicator's continuing to use them on noir and classic film alike. They are an excellent duo for this kind of thing. Library of Congress, a 1945 21-minute documentary short made as part of the American Scene film series, released the same year as Lady on a Train and narrated by its co-star Ralph Bellamy. And this is a UK premiere on Blu-ray. I didn't know this was on Blu-ray in the States, but maybe Kino's put it out. So anyway, that is Lady on a Train. Then we have A Woman's Vengeance. And that film is from 1948, directed by Zoltan Korda. And it stars Charles Boyer, Anne Blythe, Jessica Tandy, a very young Jessica Tandy, Cedric Hardwicke, Mildred Natwick. And it is about a cheating husband who is charged with the poisoning death of his invalid wife in spite of other women, and a suicide also being suspected. So that cheating husband is Charles Boyer, I believe, and he's pretty good in this kind of thing. I actually kind of wish we had a little bit more Boyer noir. I mean, there certainly is a decent amount of films that he did, but he did more, I feel like he did more melodrama and drama, straight up, maybe some thrillers. I'm not fully familiar with everything he's done, but I guess I just don't see him pop up in noir enough. But this is a solid one, and he really anchors the whole story as far as I'm concerned. He's one of those actors I think is a little underappreciated now. Yeah, so this is from 1948. And 2021 restoration from a 4K scan, original mono audio commentary with professor and film scholar Jason A. Nye, also another one of the regulars on these indicator discs, and he's a great academic and very thorough commentarian. Huxley in Hollywood, 2023, a 23-minute. It's about author and film historian Neil Sinyard discusses A Woman's Vengeance and the film career of Aldous Huxley. Mall Mystery Theater, The Gioconda Smile, a 1945 26-minute radio play based on the Aldous Huxley short that was adapted into A Woman's Vengeance. I love that they do that kind of stuff. That's really neat. French Town, a 1945 12-minute documentary short offering a portrait of a small town following its liberation during World War II, narrated by A Woman's Vengeance actor Cedric Hardwicke. UK premiere on Blu-ray. So that is Woman's Vengeance. Then we have An Act of Murder. This one is from 1948. It stars Frederick March, Edmund O'Brien, Florence Eldridge, Geraldine Brooks, and it is about a man killing his terminally ill wife to prevent her from further suffering. So this is an interesting sort of flip side to the previous film. We've got two terminally ill wives in a couple different movies. But I do like Frederick March. Another guy who he plays a judge in this one. But Edmund O'Brien is the husband, and he certainly did his share of noir, DOA being one of the big ones that I think people remember him from. But I like him a lot in general, but I like him in noir quite a bit. Actually like to see him, a little older, in the 70s. What was I watching? I feel like it was a TV movie that that John Badham directed that I'm blanking on right now, but he's a little older in the 70s. He's playing a guy who does mercy killings, surprisingly enough, so it kind of ties into this movie. Anyway, so directed by Michael Gordon, and these are pretty down and dirty, straight ahead stories, 90 minutes or so each, which I like, not overstaying their welcomes. This one, 2013 restoration from a 2K scan, audio commentary with entertainment journalists Max Every and Brian Reisman, another dynamic duo that I really enjoy, and I like that, I started hearing them on, I feel like they did some 80s and 90s stuff, and now they've gone into classic film, and they always do, again, great research, and they just really work well together. I enjoy them both a lot. An Act of Marriage, 2023, 15 minutes. This is Jill Blake. Writer Jill Blake discusses the lives and careers of real-life husband and wife Frederick March and Florence Eldridge, who co-starred in 7 feature films, including Act of Murder. Jill Blake, somebody I know, and I'm a big fan of her writing, and I love that she's starting to become prominent in these releases as well. She is somebody that is fantastic mind for cinema and loves Frederick March, so she's a natural fit for this. Welcome Home, 1945, 20-minute documentary short about returning soldiers following the end of World War II, narrated by Frederick March, a UK Blu-ray premiere. So that is An Act of Murder. I seem to remember this. Yeah, interesting. That cover looks familiar to me. Okay, so next up we have... let's do The Lady Gambles. This one is got a real high-profile noir star in Barbara Stanwyck. It's from 1949, directed also by Michael Gordon. Also stars Robert Preston, Stephen McNally. I'm sure there were some other folks I recognize. Tony Curtis shows up in this for a second, a small part. So this one is about a woman who accompanies her husband, her reporter husband, David, to Las Vegas, and that husband is played by Robert Preston. And she begins gambling to pass the time while he's doing a story. And then she gets sort of encouraged and flirted with by the casino manager, and she gets hooked on gambling. So it becomes kind of a cautionary tale. He gives her something where, I can't remember if she fakes like she's a reporter too, and she's doing a story, and he's like, okay, well, here's some house chips. Like, these aren't actually worth anything, but you can gamble with them. And she gets fully addicted to gambling with the house chips, and then it becomes a little bit more when she starts borrowing her husband's expense money to pursue the addiction. It goes pretty dark. But it's interesting to see Barbara Stanwyck in this kind of cautionary tale. It's not something I'm used to from her, but gambling movies I find fascinating. They have sort of a built-in tension about them that either makes you so anxious you don't want to watch them, or that, you get hooked on them, kind of like gambling itself. I'm not a gambler personally, but gambling movies I definitely enjoy from afar. So this one, yeah, interesting, from 1949. Barbara Stanwyck movie I hadn't heard of before this. So that is The Lady Gambles. Then we have Time Out of Mind. And this one stars Phyllis Calvert, Robert Hutton, Ella Raines, Eddie Albert, Leo G. Carroll. And it is about the son of a wealthy Maine family shocks his relatives by announcing he wants to pursue a career in music, which doesn't sound like it'd be a noir movie, but it is. And yeah, this is another one that I'd never heard of. This is directed by noir great Robert Siodmak, who did a ton of great film noir and other films, but he did The Killers. He did Crisscross, both with Burt Lancaster, Phantom Lady, The Spiral Staircase, I'm a really big fan of. The Dark Mirror, The Suspect, which is actually one of the movies they use in Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid, that, Steve Martin is reacting to. File on Thelma Jordan, that's a Barbara Stanwyck movie. Christmas Holiday. He did Son of Dracula, which I actually really like. That's a noir. That's not a noir, but it's a horror movie with Lon Chaney Jr. But anyway, he's great, and so he's high pedigree for this kind of set. And this is one of his films that I'd never heard of. So another one that I'm curious to check out. 2022 restoration from a 2K scan or audio commentary of film historian Adrian Martin. Windows to the Soul, a brand new 37-minute in-depth analysis including selected scenes audio commentary by writer and academic Jose Arroyo. Bold Adventure, The Phyllis Calvert Murders, 1951, 27 minutes. Episode of the vintage radio series of crime thrillers starring Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall, taking inspiration from the famed British performer. UK Blu-ray premiere. So that's Time Out of Mind. And then lastly, we have Singapore, which I definitely have talked about. It was I think it was part of one of the Kino Blu-ray sets, noir Blu-ray sets. And this one stars Fred MacMurray, Ava Gardner, they're the big headliners in this. Do I remember this having some Casablanca vibes a little bit? There's amnesia stuff. Basically, after the war, Fred McMurray's character returns to Singapore. You see sort of this opening where there's this, bombings and chaos, and he loses his fiance, his girl. I can't remember if they're going to be married or not, but played by Ava Gardner. He returns to retrieve a fortune in smuggled pearls, and once he shows up, he reminisces in flashbacks about his pre-war fiancée, the alluring Linda, and her disappearance during the Japanese attack. But now Linda resurfaces with amnesia and married to a rich planter. That, is a very complicated situation for him. And then there's also this engine of the movie driving about the pearls, finding those pearls. So he's trying to kind of get her to remember him, and also dealing with some evil folks and the pearls on top of that. Thomas Gomez is in this too. I like him a lot. Good character actor. Directed by John Bram, who's also a great noir auteur. He did things like Hangover Square, the remake of The Lodger, The Locket. My pod partner Elric Kane swears by The Locket. I still have to see that one. The Mad Magician, one called The Brasher Doubloon. That's only on DVD. Is that a Philip Marlowe? I want to say that's like a Marlowe movie. It's another George Montgomery plays Philip Marlowe in that. Anyway, he's done a lot of great stuff, but Hangover Square, The Lodger, The Locket, those three, Hangover Square and The Lodger have Blu-rays, The Locket does not, but this is another, John Bram noir, and it's enjoyable. It's an enjoyable performance by McMurray. It's, it feels a little exotic, and it's neat to see it included in this set as well. So that is that. Now, as I said, there is a booklet or a book included with this, and that has multiple essays, and it is, where did I put it? Nice and hefty. It's like heavier than a disc for sure. And it is just a beautiful, again, I'll show just how it's like got this beautiful matte thing about it that I really love. That is, I feel like if it's not exclusive to their boxes, I don't know, they design these books a little bit better than some other folks, but like going through, we have essays on each of the films. So you have Lady on a Train, Time Out of Mind, Singapore, Women's Vengeance. So you have essays by Ellen Wright, Paul Duane, Donald Marshman, Philip Kemp, Tara Judah, Iris Vasey, Ace Bushnell, Imogen Sarah Smith does one on the Lady Gambles, very exciting. And then there's a section on short films, but yeah, filled with essays. Each one of the films gets its own essay, so it's kind of like each one has its little booklet of its own. But just a beautiful book, the kind of thing you could just, put on the shelf by itself. Very lovely stuff. So anyway, that will do it for this round and this box set. This is Universal Noir number 2 from Indicator. So head on over to powerhousefilms.co.uk to pick this one up. It is well worth your time. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.